He didn't forget to lock the safe. He left it open on purpose. A trap, a final test for the only person who'd walked into his life without making him feel like he had to run. Julian Carter wasn't always this quiet, wasn't always this cold. There was a time his name meant something. Power, wealth, respect. You'd see it in Forbes, hear it in boardrooms, feel it in the numbers moving across stock tickers. He built a shipping empire that went head-to-head with the giants. Back then, his voice moved markets. But now he spoke to no one. At just 40, Julian Carter lived in silence. Because silence, unlike people, doesn't lie, it doesn't betray you, and it doesn't ask for forgiveness after. He lived alone in a massive red brick mansion outside Savannah, Georgia. 26 rooms, marble floors, iron gates, 3 hidden panic buttons, 16 security cameras. But no footsteps echoed inside, except his own. Locals called him paranoid. Some called him dangerous. Others just whispered when they passed the iron gate. He once fired a gardener just for asking where the fuse box was. But they didn't know. They didn't see what he saw. His own son tried to take over the family trust by having Julian declared mentally unstable. His daughter, the same girl who clung to him during thunderstorms, drained one of his accounts and disappeared. Even his personal doctor, a man Julian trusted like a brother, sent him fake medical bills for treatments he never got. Yeah, Julian had learned. People don't just lie. They wait, they watch, they smile while planning the moment they'll ruin you. The only person he ever truly trusted was Grace, his wife. She filled the house with laughter, cinnamon bread, and sunflowers by the front door. But cancer came, slowly, cruelly. And when Grace was gone, the color left with her. Since then, the house was more like a tomb. He never repainted. Never moved her things except the library, her favorite room. That one stayed perfect, spotless, sacred, because even after he stopped believing in people, he never stopped loving her. Julian's days were strict. Coffee at 6, oatmeal by 6:30, emails. Then silence. Hours spent watching camera feeds and checking every apple for bruises, like it might be poisoned. The man who once ran global trade routes now lived like a prisoner in his own fortress. Weeks went by without a single real conversation. Food came from delivery apps. Housekeepers never lasted more than a few days. Then one morning, something changed. His body had been feeling weaker lately. His hands sometimes shook. It scared him more than he admitted. So he did something he hadn't done in years. He asked for help. Julian called a staffing agency in Atlanta. Gave them a list longer than a contract. No social media, no criminal record, no interest in small talk, no questions, no curiosity. They sent 3 profiles. He trashed the first 2 within seconds. The third one? Her name was Zaria Brooks, 27, disciplined, quiet, no nonsense. Her file said, driven by purpose, not profit. Julian scoffed. That kind of wording usually meant nothing, but for some reason he paused. The next Tuesday, he saw her on the security feed. A slim woman stepped off a faded city bus. No makeup, no flashy clothes. Just a calm walk straight to his front gate. She didn't knock too hard, didn't smile too wide. When Julian opened the door, she simply gave a small bow. Didn't say a word until he gave her permission to speak. Respect. It caught him off guard. He led her into the old sitting room. Velvet couch, dusty curtains, cold air. Before he could speak, she did. The library, she said softly. Should I just dust the shelves, or would you like the books arranged by height? Julian froze. No one had ever asked that. Most new hires asked about vacation days or pay raises, but she asked about the books. The books stay as they are, Julian said after a long pause. Just dust, she nodded. Wrote it down in a small notebook. Then asked more questions, clear, professional, nothing personal. She never once mentioned his past. Never once asked about the mansion, the rumors, or his money. And when she left that day, Julian found himself staring at the camera feed, watching her walk down the stone path, her figure small but steady. For the first time in years, someone had entered his home without making him panic. But trust? No, not yet. No one enters Julian Carter's world without being tested. The next morning, before Zaria came for her first day, Julian walked alone to the east wing. There was a door even the housekeepers didn't know about. Behind it, his safe room. Inside, cash, gold, jewelry, old deeds, and a small folded paper on the table. It held the code to the safe. He left it there, out in the open, like a mistake. But it wasn't. Julian Carter doesn't make mistakes. This was the beginning of a test. She faced the ultimate test and passed with tears in her eyes. Julian Winters leaned back in his leather chair, watching the monitor. The safe door was left slightly open, on purpose. It was a test. Temptation, pure and raw. At 8:00 a.m. sharp, Zaria walked into the house. She dusted shelves, fluffed pillows, scrubbed the corners like always, quiet, focused, clean. For over an hour, she didn't even look at the expensive things lying around. Then came the moment. She walked down the east hallway. Julian leaned forward, holding his breath. She saw the open safe. Stacks of cash sitting inside. She froze, her hand twitched. Julian tensed, waiting for her to step in. But Zaria didn't move. She backed away, took out her phone, and calmly made a call. Julian zoomed in, reading her lips. She was calling his secretary, telling her about the open safe, asking if she should close it or wait. Julian blinked. No one had ever done that. Still, he didn't trust it. Hey, people change under pressure, he whispered to himself. Oh, they fake it until the prize gets big enough. Then Zaria's phone buzzed again. Her face changed instantly. Julian zoomed in closer. It was her mom. She was crying. Their small grocery store, the only income they had, was being shut down. They needed $38,000 by the end of the week. Zaria listened, silent, tears in her eyes. She said she'd find a way. She hung up and turned back toward the open safe. One step, one handful of cash, and her family would be saved. No one would notice. Julian was a billionaire. She was just a housekeeper. Her heart pounded. But she didn't take the money. Instead, Zaria walked up to the table beside the safe, picked up the code slip, and typed in a random number. Beep! The safe locked. She folded the real code and slipped it into her pocket. Then she sat down and cried. Not because she regretted the choice, but because it hurt so much to make it. Julian watched in stunned silence. He'd seen people lie, cheat, steal, but never this. Zaria didn't move for 2 hours. She stayed in that hallway, guarding the safe like it was hers, protecting what didn't belong to her. For the first time in over a decade, Julian felt something strange. It was trust. At 6:00 p.m., he stood up and walked downstairs, letting his footsteps echo so she'd hear. Zaria stood up, wiping her eyes quickly. You're still here, he said quietly. She nodded. The safe was open. I called your secretary. I stayed to make sure everything was okay, Julian replied. I know, she frowned. You knew? I watched everything, he said. Cameras all over the house. Zaria's face changed, not angry, just disappointed, but her voice stayed calm. This is your home. You have a right to protect it. Julian stepped closer, pulled out a sealed envelope, and handed it to her. Inside, a $50,000 check. You earned this, he said. Zaria looked at it, then softly pushed it back. I can't take this, she whispered. Doing the right thing shouldn't be a I did what anyone should do. Julian stood still, speechless. Then he asked, Why? Why are you like this? Zaria hesitated, then finally shared her story. Years ago, my cousin needed surgery. We couldn't afford it. A stranger donated the money. We never knew who. But when I applied for this job, I saw your name on the hospital donor list. I knew it was you. That's why I'm here, not to take but to serve. Julian's chest tightened. He remembered that donation. He never thought he'd meet the girl it helped. He didn't say much after that. He simply walked to his desk, pulled out a leather folder, and handed it to her. This is the Winters Trust Foundation. I've had it for years, but never found someone I trusted to run it. Until now, Zaria's hands shook as she took it. I'm just a housekeeper. No, Julian said. You're the only person who reminded me what it means to be human. She held the folder tightly. And in that moment, both of them realized something deep. Family isn't built by blood. It's built by trust.